We're now on the top of Daf Yutesam Beis, the third word in Tanoi. The issue of Megillus Tainis, whether it's Butler Lachar Churban or not Butler, is it still binding, is a Machlokas Tanoi. Tisani, we learned in the Brisa, Hayomim ha'elu aksuvim Megillus Tainis. According to Rabbi Meir, the first opinion quoted here, this Brisa, the days that were declared by Megillus Tainis and designated as Yomim Tovim with an Isser Hesped B'Tainis is Bein Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kayim Bein Bizman She'ein Beis HaMikdash Kayim Asurim. In other words, these are binding even after the Churban HaBayis, which means Lo Batla Megillus Tainis. Divrei Meir, Rabbi Yossi Omer Bizman Shebeis HaMikdash Kayim Asurim. Those days that have been designated in Megillus Tainis as celebrations are usher as long as the Mikdash is standing. They shall simcha, shesimcha hilahem. They are in a state of simcha as long as the Beis HaMikdash is standing. But ain Beis HaMikdash kayim. Once the Mikdash was destroyed, mutarim, the Isser of Hesped B'Tainis during these days that are designated by Megillus Tainis are no longer binding. These are days of Avelus. And by the way, those days of Avelus are 2,000 years long. And anyway, we see clearly that the issue of whether Batla Megillus Tainis, Lachar Churban Beis HaMikdash, or Lo Batla Megillus Tainis is in fact a machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi. And therefore, Rabbi Chanina and Rav, they hold like Rabbi Yossi that Batla Megillus Tainis. So if you ask a kasha from a Brisa, well, that Brisa reflects the sheep of Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Meir, in fact, holds Lo Batla Megillus Tainis. But that's not a slug up to Rav and Rabbi Chanina because they hold like Rabbi Yossi and they have someone to stand on. Hilchasa, how do we paskin? Butler. That the days that are enumerated in Megillus Tainis are butler. We are no longer enjoined from Hesped B'Tainis. For Hilchasa, low butler. They're still binding. Kasha Hilchasa Hilchasa. How can you say this A and minus A in the same breath? Low kasha. When the halacha was low but and those days are still binding, b'Chanukah Purim. These are days of Pirsum Anes. And because of that special hum of Pirsum Anes, my Rebbe of Salvation used to always say that Pirsum Anes is Kiddush Hashem. For the sake of Kiddush Hashem, we're not going to be mevatel these days. And even though we're in a state of Churban and Avelus, the Mikdash is down, all the other holidays that are listed in Megillus Tainis are all completely nullified. According to Rabbi Chanina, nevertheless, these days of Chanukah Purim are still commemorated as days of Isser Hesped B'Tainis because of the great Pirsum Anes. Now you tell me that we paskin that Megillus Tainis is B'Tela B'Shar Yomi, other days that are commemorated as holidays in Megillus Tainis. And now, Rabbosa, we go back to our Mishnah. The Mishnah says that the Shluchim went out on Elul, Mipnei Rosh Hashana. V'al Tishrei Mipnei Takonas HaMoados. So we needed Shluchim to tell us exactly which day of Elul is Rosh Chodesh, meaning whether Av, the previous month, was a Chaser or a Moli, 29 or 30 days. And then we need to send Shluchim to tell the people which day of Tishrei was established as Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. So Gemara immediately asks the following kasha. Once the Shlichim went out on the month of Elul to notify the people in the Gola, in the far-flung places in the Golas, which day of Elul is Rosh Chodesh Elul, they automatically knew how to count 30 days and establish that 30th day as Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. There was no need to send Shluchim. At Tishrei Lamalu, why are you sending out Shluchim to notify the people in the Gola as far as Rosh Chodesh Tishrei is concerned? They can simply add 30 to Rosh Chodesh El. And if you'll argue Dilma Abru Alil, maybe El would turn out to be not 29 days, but 30 days, which would mean that Rosh Chodesh Tishrei is the 31st day, not the 30th day. Amar Rabbi Chanina bar Kahana Rav, Mimos Ezra B'Elech, Lo Matzinu El Ma'ubar. we never established El as a mullah, meaning as a 30-day month. It's always 29 days, which means once I know when Rosh Chodesh El is, I count 29 days of El, and the 30th day is Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, because El is always chaser, it's never mullah. The Gemara answers, Lo matzinu de lo itzrich. You're telling me that lo matzinu, we never found El to be a 30-day month. It was always a 29-day month. Okay, lo matzinu. You know why lo matzinu? De lo itzrich. They never had a pressing need to add an extra day to El. That doesn't mean ipso facto, in an absolute way, that El could never be declared as ma'ubar, as a mullah, and add the 30th day. Ha'itzrich, if there would be a pressing need, ma'abrinale, we would in fact add an extra day to the month of El. Now, what would be itzrich? What would be a pressing need to establish El as ma'ubar and add a 30th day? So the point here is that it's possible that the 29th day of El could fall out Samoch l'Shabbat, right before Shabbos. Let's give an extreme example. Let's say the 29th day of El would be a Friday. What's going to happen now? We're going to have, a second, we're going to have 2 days. No. Not a Friday. Let me scratch it. It's a Thursday. Okay, I think that's where I made my mistake. You'll check me out in your notes. I think it should be Thursday, not Friday. So let's say that Thursday is the 29th day of El. And now, assuming that you're not going to be Ma'aber the Shana, the Chodesh, then the following day, which is Friday, is going to be Aleph Tishrei. The day after that, which is the second day of Tishrei, the day after Rosh Hashanah, is Shabbos. So you have now 48 consecutive hours of Isur Malach. And this will generate two problems. Number one, Yeveshus Hisyabshus Ha-Yurokos, the vegetables which now cannot be cut from the ground for 2 full days because you have Rosh Hashanah and then Shabbos, they're going to start drying up. Number two, what happens, Nebuch, if somebody dies and they didn't get a chance to bury him before that Friday of Rosh Hashanah? Now you have Friday of Rosh Hashanah, you have Shabbos of Rosh Hashanah, and you have Shabbos of Shabbos, and 2 days in which you're not allowed to bury the dead. And that's called Bizayin HaMes. So since it's quite possible that if El is chaser, it's not ma'uba, and El will end on 29 days, then you can have a problem. Because then the 30th day of El becomes the first day of Tishrei, and you can have, if it's Samach l'Shabbos, you can have 48 straight hours of Isur Malach. And this is called Litzorah. So there could be a need to be Ma'aber Chodesh El. So the Gemara says, HaMekalke b'Rosh Hashanah. The Bnei HaGola, those in the far-flung places in the Golas, they think that El, as always, is a 29th day of the month. They're going to go ahead and celebrate Rosh Hashanah on the 30th day as Aleph Tishrei. Meanwhile, Bezdin decided back in Yerushalayim that because, the 29th of El is going to fall on a Thursday, Samach l'Shabbos, therefore they're going to decide to be Ma'aber the Shana, and now you're being Makalkel of Bnei HaGola because they observe Rosh Hashanah on day 30 instead of on day 31. So the Gemara answers, nevertheless, they'll still go ahead and be ma'aber the month of El Mutav, Shetikalkel Rosh Hashana. In this toss-up, weighing the possibilities, we'd be better off causing a takola of Rosh Hashana in order shelo yiskalkelu kulu moados, not to create a takola for the moadim if they won't be ma'aber el, because what you're going to do is you're going to create a kind of a chain reaction in which the moadim will fall out samach l'Shabbos. Why? Because if you're not ma'aber el, then the 30th day is Rosh Hashana, and that's Erev Shabbos. So you have a situation of moadim samach l'Shabbos. He says in the footnote, he says, Hainu, shelo yu yirakos l'sudas hayom hasheni, o sheyigro bizoyin l'meisim. He won't have yirakos. Apparently yirakos is very, very critical to this suda, and it's going to dry up. So Tosfos here, Dira Mastil, VL, you'll see it's the second, VL, the second Tos on the page. He thinks that this chashash of bizayin l'meisim should only apply to Yom Kippur. That's his calculation. If it's chal samach l'Shabbos. In any event, the Gemara says, Daikonami, I'm going to be medayik in the lunch in the Mishnah, that Rabbana were worried of creating a takola on the Moadim. And they don't care about the takola of Rosh Hashanah. The Katani, we learned in our Mishnah, the Shluchim were yotzim al titrei mipnei takanas hamoadas. The Mishnah added takanas hamoadas. It doesn't say mipnei hamoadas, but takanas hamoadas. And that means just like with regard to other months, the Mishnah wants to teach me that the takana of Shar HaMoadim is more important than the kilkul of Rosh Hashanah Shmam. The Mishnah establishes that there were 6 months when the Shluchim went out. So the Gemara says that it says Al Kislev Mipnei Chanukah Al Adar Mipnei Purim. What do you mean Adar Mipnei Purim? You're talking about a year, a regular year that's not a leap year, that has only 1 month of Adar. The Ilu, and it doesn't say anything in the Mishnah about Nis'abra Shana. If you added another Adar, a 2nd month of Adar, Yotzim, they should send out the Shluchim, Afal Adar Sheni. Why? Because we commemorate Purim on the 14th and the 15th of Adar Sheni in an Ibriyah. And therefore, in order to notify the people when exactly is the 14th and the 15th of Adar and the Bnei HaGol that were far away, we needed to send out Shluchim. Why did the Mishnah omit a very important point that in the case of an Ibriyah, we're going to have to add another month to those months that the Shluchim have to be sent out? More answers. Masnisin Deloka Rebbe. The Mishnah is against Rebbe. And now we're going to have a machlokes in the case of a Shana Muberes. When do we celebrate Purim? Is it in Adar Rishon or is in Adar Sheni? Will the real month of Adar please stand up? The Sanya Rebbe Omer in this Abra Shana Yotzim Af Al Adar Sheni Mipnei Purim. Rebbe says that Purim is to be commemorated in the 2nd month of Adar, Adar Sheni, and therefore the Shluchim have to go out to notify the people when they establish Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Adar Sheni. And the Chachamim rejected it. What are they arguing about? And the Chachamim here are the anonymous Chachamim of our Mishnah. Because again, our Mishnah says nothing about Adar Sheni. Mar Sover, the time of our Mishnah holds Kol Mitzvah Nogos Be, Sheni Nogos Be, Rishon. In other words, the mitzvahs of Purim, in a case of an Ibriyar, if they celebrated in Adar Rishon, and then Bezdin decided to expand the year and add another month to the year, namely the month of Adar Sheni, they've already fulfilled their obligation. They don't need to be Mekayim Purim a second time around. I used to have this debate with my father-in-law. He used to love the 2nd day of Pesach. So when he came here to Eretz Yisrael with his family, there was a second Seder in our house in Harno. And he enjoyed it. He said, oh, a second Seder. So I said to my Shver, I don't want to eat more a second night. I'm happy to be here in Eretz Yisrael. If you made Purim 2 days, I'd be very happy. So here's a case where you have Purim twice around. According to the Tanav Mishnah, you could be Yotzei Purim on Adar Rishon, and if they're Ma'aber the Shon and there's Adar Sheni, you don't have to repeat Purim a second time. You were Yotzei the first time, man. Umar where Rebbe says, no. You can't get away with it. Kol mitzvahs hador goes be Adar Sheni, ain't no goes be Rishon. Okay, you celebrated Purim on Adar Rishon, but you aren't Yotzei Yechiv. Now they're Ma'aber the Shon, you have Adar Sheni, you have to celebrate Purim a second time around against your Freilah. In the Mela, we have to send out shluchim in order to notify the people when is Rosh Chodesh Adar Beis, and that's Rebbe's Shita. You are rejects it. Lo, the Kuli Amma, both Rebbe and the Tanav Mishnah hold that Mrs. Anogos B'Sheni Ein Nogos B'Rishon, and whatever Purim you were Makayim Adalo Yoda on the first Adar, you weren't Yotze. You're gonna have to have another Adalo Yoda on Adam Sheni. But here, what is the issue? We're talking about counting the days of the month of Adar Rishon. The Ibur Shana Kamithim. And the debate is about Ibur Shana. The Sanya, we learned in the Brisa, Kama, Ibur Shana. How many days does the month that we add in a case of an Ibur Shana have, constitute? And the Tanakama says, Shloshim Yom. That means that the extra month that we add as for an Ibiyor has to have 30 days. And Rav Shimon Gamliel disagrees. Chodesh. Chodesh usually means 29 days. Tam Chodesh is 29 days. So the Tanakhama Mishnah holds like this Tanakhama. And therefore, there's no need for the Shluchim to go out and notify the people when is Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni, because the din is Kavua. It's always going to be 31 days after Adar Rishon. According to Rebbe, on the other hand, he holds like Rav Shimon Gamliel that Adar Rishon could be 29 days. So wait a minute, the Gemara says, I don't get it. Maishna Shloshim, if you're going according to the Tanakama, who holds that it's a 30-day month, and therefore there's no need for the Shluchim to notify the people when is Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni, because it's always going to start with day 31. The Yadi is Chodesh Nami Yadi. If you're telling me, according to Rav Gamliel, and Rebbe holds like Rav Gamliel, that the month is going to be made up of 29 days, is Nami Yadi. They'll know exactly how to calculate when is Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni. Amar Rav Papa, Mandi Amar Chodesh, Ratza Chodesh, Ratza Shloshim. Rebbe and Rav Gamliel, Rav Shimon Gamliel, they never meant to say that it has to be, and it's, so we say, carved in stone, that it has to be 29 days. They only meant to say that it could be 29 days. But if they want, it could be 30 days. And therefore, the Shluchim have to go out and notify the Bnei Agola, because there are two options, 29 and 30. Just 1 second. What time is it? Oh, we have 3 minutes. It's just a note here if I can find it, but I'll just give it 1 minute. And he says, they disagree about whether or not there's a fixed number of days for the first month of Adar in a case of Hashana Muberes. According to the first Tana, it's 30 days, the first month of Adar. According to Rav Shimon Gamliel, it's going to be 29 days. We can therefore explain that the Tana of our Mishnah subscribes to the opinion of Tana Kama, since the first of Adar is always 30 days, there's no need to send out messages for the second Adar. The Gemara asks, and even if you hold like the other sheet, it's 29 days, why do we have to send out messages? And Rav Papa answers that there's a choice here. They can, according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, you have to send out messages for Chodesh Adar Beis because Chodesh Adar Aleph could either be 29 or 30 days. Hey, Rabbi Shimon Levi, okay, you have to underline Rabbi Shimon Levi. Mishum Kahola Kadisha, from the holy people of Yerushalayim, Al Shnei Adarim Shemekachim Osam B'Yom Kippureim. On the 30th day of the month, that's the day that you could be misaber, and if they weren't makadesh the chodesh on that day, es yom hashloshim, the 30th day of Adar Rishon, they can makadesh Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni, and the 30th day of Adar Sheni, they can makadesh it as Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So these 2 months of Adar each have 29 days. According to the testimony of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, that means you can have 2 consecutive months, each of which has 29 days. So we assume, based on this testimony of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the Chaserin Avdin Maleim Lo Avdinon, that we could create for 2 consecutive months of Adar, Chaserin, meaning 29 days, and not Maleim. Lafuki Midorash Rav Nachman Bar Chizda. This is against the drasha of Rav Nachman Bar Chizda. Hey, Rav Simoy Mishum Chagai Zechariah Umalachi. This is the drasha of Rav Nachman Bar Chizda, quoting a testimony of Rav Simoy in the name of the last of the Nevi'im. Chagai Zechariah Malach Al Shnei Adorim. In a case of an Ibriyar, Sheim Ratzu Lasel Shneim Maleim Osim, Shneim Chaserim Osim, Echad Malev Echad Chaser Osim. All the options are open with regard to these 2 months of Adar. V'kacha, you know, again, Gola, and in Pumbedisa, in the Gola, they were knowing that when they were Ma'aber the Shana, Mishum Rabbeinu, in the name of Rav, Amru, they said, Li Olam Echad Malev Echad Chaser. 1 month would be 29, and the next would be 30. Unless the shluchim come from Eretz Yisrael, and they determine that Rosh Chodesh Adar Sheni Bismano, it means that Bezdin made the first Adar Chaser and the second Adar Mullen. So the first Adar is 29 days, and the second was 30 days. In any event, the testimony of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi that always the 2 Adarim are 29 days Chaserim, that's against both opinions mentioned here in the Brisa. Meaning the Medrash of Rav Nachman Bar Chizda, quoting the Avis of Rav Simon, is against Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, because it's quite clear that you could have Echad Chaser v'Echad Malei, or you could have 2 months Maleim. And this statement of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi in the name of the Kila Kadisha, that the 2 Adars will always be declared on the 30th day, meaning you'd have 2 consecutive months of Adar, each of which is Chaserim, that's against this testimony of Rav Nachman Bar Chizda. So again, just to read this, and then we'll end. To offer testimony concerning 2 months, the witnesses may desecrate the Shabbos in order to inform the court that they saw the new moon. Oh, we didn't get up to that. I'm sorry. I'll do that tomorrow. But Lafuki B'Nidorash Rav Nachman Bar Chizda. Al Shnei Adorim, concerning 2 of them. She'im Ratzu, if Bezdin wished to make them both full, they can do so. Both deficient, meaning 29 days, they can do so. 1 full and 1 deficient, the first one full, the second one deficient, they may do so. And that was the practice in the Gola. In the name of Rabbeinu, meaning Rav, Li Olam Echad Malev Echad Chas. always assume that 1 month, the first month of Adar Rishon, is Mole, and the second month of Adar is Chassid. Unless it becomes known to you through people arriving from Eretz Yisrael that Rosh Chodesh of the second Adar was fixed in its time on the 30th day, which means that Adar Rishon was Chassid. But otherwise, we assume that Adar Rishon is going to be Mullet. And this is all against Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who says that both Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni are Chaserim. So this is where we're going to stop for today, up to Sholchulei. And as I always say on Thursday, when I wish you a good Shabbos, at B'li Neder, I will record the daf, which is up for Shabbos, and upload it onto YouTube, onto YU Torah, so that you can... wait a minute. Today is Thursday. I'm sorry. I gave that announcement one day early. So tomorrow we'll meet on Zoom, and then I'll make this announcement that the following day, which is Shabbos, that'll be Chaf Aleph, the 21st daf in Masechet Hashana. That I'll give as a recording in honor of Shabbos. But don't forget, I do that before Shabbos. Please note that.